Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala sayyidil mursaleen Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Let me cut my volume off. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa afdalu salatu wa tamu tasneem ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa radiyallahu ta'ala an sadat at-tabi'een wa ulama al-amalin wa a'immatul arba'at al-mujtahideen wa muqallidihim ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah. Brother Khalil from Atlantic City. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The great Sirah Master. Allahu Akbar. I wanted to take a few minutes to build with y'all regarding my last trip to the Gambia. Sometimes if you don't express or write down, smiling is a sadaqah. If you don't express or write down what you have experienced, you could lose it, forget it. And so it's important, at least for me, that I take some time to talk about some of my experiences there. Alhamdulillah. If you know me, you know this is not my first time, nor my second time, nor my third time there. I've been there a few times. Alhamdulillah. First of all, why you looking at me like that? You didn't think I was going to say nothing to you? You're going to sit there and look at me. You know I'm going to laugh. You're going to break my concentration. You're going to stand there and look at me. I'm going to turn the camera around, show everybody what you're doing. My wife acted crazy. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh Yusuf, alhamdulillah, marhaban, welcome. Alhamdulillah. Ah, man, where do I begin? Where do I begin? Where do I begin? And you got to watch out, too, because I'm wearing glasses. You know, you can see reflections in glasses. Right, you know, you better be careful about that. Abdullah. Well, some people that wear glasses, they try to take them off and look all handsome. I'll be like this, right? I ain't gonna do all that, right? And I hate contacts, so I just deal with the glasses. Alhamdulillah. Man, I want to first say that long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I felt like something was missing in my Islam. What do I mean? I felt that as I was learning and growing in my Islam, I felt that the Islam that I was living and practicing was different and lacking from the Islam that I was reading about in the books. And in my mind, I felt like there were certain things that was missing from my Islam. One of the things that I felt was missing was the bay'ah, the oath of allegiance to a leader. The second thing that I felt was missing was the Maliki school of thought, the Maliki madhab. a third thing that I felt was missing was the connection to Africa. And this is why I mention all of this. And what I'm speaking about, or what I'm referring to right now, was what I was going through about 20 years ago. And wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Bilal, alhamdulillah. And I say this because when I became Muslim, you know, my interest and love of history increased manifold. And so after this, see, when you learn Islam, and I know a lot of people don't really learn Islam from this particular type of angle. I don't know why, but, you know, and again, alhamdulillah for people like our brother Khalil and our brother Malik Robinson, alhamdulillah, for being consistent in teaching the seerah. But I felt like, you know, after being Muslim for a period of time, you know, back in the good old days, you would learn seerah. You would learn about the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then naturally, you would also learn about the Khulafa Rashideen, the rightly guided Caliphs, who inherited the leadership of the Ummah after the passing of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and Imam al-Hassan. So that'll take you to exactly 30 years after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then after that, if you're into history, you know that you have the ruling of Bani Umayyah, the ruling of the children of Umayyah. Then after that, you have the Abbasid or the Bani Abbas ruling empire, right? And if you know your history, you know that after that, there was some turmoil, some craziness, it was haywire. Then after a generation or two, poof, out of nowhere, comes the Ottoman Caliphate in the 1500s. And then that'll take you up to 1924, where it was abolished by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, which is, you know, at the conclusion of World War I, right? And then you have the present era, right? But if you know history, and then you read history books, and then you look at, you know, modern maps of the world, and usually these maps indicate, you know, this place has such and such percentage of Muslims. And then you look in places like Africa, and you find more than half of the continent green, which means that majority of their population is Muslim. I'm like, okay, hold on, wait a minute. I've been studying history all this time. You know, I done learned about the Umayyad dynasty, the Abbasid dynasty, the Mamluks, the Seljuk, the Turks, the Fatimid dynasty, the Ottoman Empire, and then all of a sudden you get into the 20th century. Then you say, hey, what's going on in Africa? Then you find out, boom, African continent is Muslim. Well, why didn't I read about that in the history books? And so, you know, you start digging up the history of what was readily available on the Islamic bookshelves at the time, and you find a paragraph or two there with nothing mentioned about, like a paragraph or two about, you know, Islam in Africa. I'm like, wait a minute, don't make sense here. Something's missing. And so back in the mid to late 90s, I felt like that African connection was missing. And at that time, you had the rise of, wa alaikum salam rahmatullah, Brother Edward. You had the rise of people and notable speakers like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. And if you're familiar, you know, he was always promoting, you know, Mauritania, go study in Mauritania, go, you know, the Maliki Madhab. And so, you know, I kind of like got caught up in that wave indirectly. I remember going to a bookstore on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. Lived in New York at the time, where I'm from. Brooklyn stand up. From Queens though, but I can still say Brooklyn stand up just because my wife right here. You from Brooklyn, you know, right? And I was telling this brother that worked at the bookstore, a brother from Guinea, told him that I was thinking about going or at least sending some of my children to Mauritania to go study. He said, no, do not do that. I'm like, why? What? They Muslim. They heard good things about that. He said, no, I was raised in Mauritania. And you Americans, you're not ready for the beatings that they will give you. Studying Islam in Mauritania. I grew up in Mauritania, even though I'm from Guinea. No, don't do it. And so I was like, all right. So, but I always wanted this connection to Africa. And alhamdulillah, Allah facilitated my need, and I became, part of the Jamaa'ah of Sheikh Uthman bin Fodio, Taghamadahu bi rahmati, Ameen. May Allah envelop him in his mercy, Ameen. And alhamdulillah, I went to the Sudan, and that was my first time in the African continent, alhamdulillah. So obviously, if you know anything, if you know your geography, and if you're Muslim, you have to know your geography. If you're Muslim and you don't know your geography, something's wrong. If you don't know where Sudan is or any place like that, you need to go brush up, right? In any case, Sudan is in East Africa. So alhamdulillah. As a Muslim, I read the book Roots. In fact, I read the book Roots and the Malcolm X's autobiography back to back. I forgot which one I read first. But I know from studying Malcolm that it was Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, rahimahullah, who inspired or motivated Alex Haley to trace his own lineage. So after he finished with the project on Roots, he began, project on Malcolm X's autobiography, which some chapters never made it there, but that's another story, right? He began to do his research on his own family, which culminated in the book Roots, and the miniseries came after that. So, alhamdulillah. So, Kunta Kinte. Kunta Kinte is from modern day Gambia. So, alhamdulillah. My connection with Gambia happened through our beloved Imam, our Sheikh Muhammad Drami. I tagged him in this video. I don't know if he's watching. I didn't see his name pop up. But alhamdulillah. So I was connected to him, and he's from the Gambia. We brought him out here to Pittsburgh, and we took the Risala of Ibn Abi Zayd from him. He narrated the text and commented on it for us, and we took the ijazah in that text from him. And during that, occasion, we got to know him better, and he has his own community in the Gambia, as well as a Quran school. And so, based upon that meeting with him, we went out to the Gambia, and I enrolled 2 of my sons in his Quran school. So this, how many years ago was this? 2 years? Something like that?
I want to say about 3.
Close to 3, yeah. Yeah, so that was a few years ago. So alhamdulillah. They've been in the Quran program ever since. They took a break. We brought them back here. They was here for what, close to 6 months? Yeah. Yeah. Well, alhamdulillah. So then we brought them back. So alhamdulillah. So they've been in the Gambia studying. If you watched any of my videos that I did last time, I had them on video. They fully integrated into the Gambian society, and alhamdulillah, they're multilingual now. Alhamdulillah. So this is, how my relationship with the Gambia started. If you know your geography, right? If you know your geography, you know that the Gambia is surrounded on all four of its sides. On the west is the Atlantic Ocean. On the east is Senegal. On the north is Senegal, and on the south is Senegal. And so the Gambia and Senegal is really one place. But because of colonialism, the British took what we know as Gambia and the French took what we know as Senegal. But if you ever go to any one of those places, they're the same people. It's primarily people the Wolof and the Mandinka. And then you have other tribes like the Fulani. They call them Fula there, but the Fulani tribe. And Sureri and Sarakuli and a lot of other tribes that are there, but primarily Wolof and Mandinka. And in the middle of Gambia is the Gambia River. So if you picture it, if you're not pulling up a map, the Gambia River runs from, west to east along the, in the middle of the Gambia. And Gambia is the smallest country in continental Africa. What do I mean? There are smaller African countries, but they're not on continental Africa. They're islands. I forgot the name of the island. But in any case, as far as countries that are on a continent, the physical continent of Gambia, of Africa, Gambia is the smallest country. In fact, Gambia is approximately, maybe I think a little bigger than Delaware. And we live in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is bigger than the Gambia. So relative to the rest of Africa, Gambia is very small. Well, alhamdulillah. The people in Gambia, good people. Even the so-called bad people are good people compared to the United States. I always tell a story. The last time I was there, right, I was, walking, taking care of my business, and the area where I was staying at that time was an area called Sunny Gambia. And if you're familiar with Gambia, that's the tourist area. So anytime you have tourists, you're going to have alcohol, you're going to have people hustling, you're going to have all that type of stuff. No, I wasn't thinking about that island. Oh, that's off East Africa. I was thinking about there's some islands off of West Africa. What's that? That girl from Philadelphia. She was married to, who she was married to? Kanye West or the dude from here. What's that rapper?
The rapper.
Amber Rose. Her mother's from this place I'm thinking about. Right. Wa alaikum salam, Salih. In any case, what was that? Yeah, so the last time I was there, I was approached, and this happened on 2 occasions. And in myself, I'm laughing, right? Brother approached me. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Cape Verde.
Cape Verde, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, brother. See you in the masjid. Everyone says you're a good brother, right? And the thing I find it funny about it, because, I got a smidgen of hood in my background, right? Just a smidgen, not too much. A smidgen of hood, right? And so I understand body language pretty well. And so got one brother talking to me, right? And the other brother like on the side, right? In my mind, that's a perfect, setup for a strong arm robbery, right? So, right? But they ain't really built like that out there, right? So he's running his little spiel about how, he did work for the Tubob. And if nobody know what Tubob means, that's their terminology for white man, right? If you read Roots, you found that word in there, Tubob. Right, so I did work for the Tubob, did some fishing for them. They paid us for some fish. We just need some rice to go with the fish. So maybe if you could help us out, my good Muslim brother who we see praying in the masjid, right? Maybe you can, we'll greatly appreciate it. But it was just the body language. Like one dude talking to me, the other dude is just like on the side of me. I don't know what happened. I'll wait for some of y'all to come back in the room. Who's he talking? Alhamdulillah, wait for y'all to come back. Yeah, I don't know what happened, y'all. I see my video just freeze, and then it just closed. I don't know what happened. So, alhamdulillah. Yeah, I was telling the story how, wa alaikum salam, Hassan Ali, alhamdulillah. I was telling the story how these two dudes was approaching me, and
You say, are you still on Africa?
Yeah,
Internet?
yeah.
Afro-cell?
Yeah, we still in Africa today. Alhamdulillah. So, let me make sure. Let me see something. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? So they came with their little hustle spiel, and I say, I ain't got no money. These brothers, their eyes bloodshot red, like they've been drinking all night, whatever like that, right? And I'm like, nah, I'm sorry, man. I ain't got nothing for you, man. And one brother said, well, maybe if you don't have anything on you, we can go back with you to your compound. You could see what you got in your house and bring it out to us. I said, no, we ain't gonna do that. Right? And so I'm laughing to myself because I'm like, in my mind, I felt if this was in the 80s or 90s in New York, I'd have to punch one of them in their face because that's the way the whole setup looked. But and those were the bad guys, right? So alhamdulillah, there's little trying to make their little hustle and whatever like that. And that's the danger of living in those areas. Alhamdulillah. On that note, I want to mention how one sheikh told us, because a lot of us think that we're poor, we got it bad, subhanallah. There are a lot of people from there and other countries who will knowingly risk their life to get out of that country because of the poverty. And a lot of them, their way out of poverty is to get romantically hooked up with a tuba, a white person, so they can get out, get out of the country. And so a lot of times, a lot of men and women will go to the beaches and go to the clubs and the bars and hoping to hook up with a white person, and go back to Europe or America or what have you. And sometimes some of these people even ask the shuyukh there to make dua for them. That they actually want the sheikh to be like, yeah, sheikh, please, I'm going to the bar tonight, I'm going to the club, I'm going to the beach, make dua that Allah hook me up, that I catch one, basically. Some of them will actually go to the shuyukh asking them, to make that type of dua, and that's how sad the situation is, subhanallah. And so, you should keep that in mind. A lot of them, the government, subhanallah, they don't really look out for the people. And how can I say, like I explained it to them, I was like, your government and my government doing the same thing, except my government spends more time, energy, and resources making it look like they're not doing what they're doing. Your government, they just don't care. Just whoever's at the top, You know, they just keep all the resources, and you know, and it don't make it to the bottom unless you know someone. You know, and that's just the reality. And it's the same thing here. It just they spend a whole lot more time making it look like it's not like that. It's the same thing. Well, alhamdulillah. One of the things that like I want to talk about real quick, going to Kinte's home. Like the first time we went to see, you got Albreda and you got Jufure. Kinte is from Jufure. Jufure goes deeper into the bush, so to speak. Albreda is right along the water. The first time we went to Albreda, and that's where you have the little restaurant. You know, you got the masjid. I don't know if those of you follow me on Facebook, I took a picture of their little masjid. That's right there in Albreda. I took a lot of pictures from the museum. But this very last time we went, we didn't go to Jufure. Jufure is, you could literally walk to Jufure. It's not far, at least the beginning of it. If you go back in my photos, you see pictures that we took with the descendants of Kinte in Jufure. We didn't go there this time. But this time, we got on a boat and we went to Kinte Island. That's the name of the island now. It was called St. James Island before. And these islands, or especially these coastal areas, you got to understand, a lot of times during the slavery period, they would purchase slaves from the different African kings who they had agreements with, where these free people will be captured, and then at some point they will be traded or sold to these European traders. And then these European traders will bring them to places like Albreda. And then they would take these smaller boats to these islands, in this case, to St. James or Kinte Island, which is about 2-3 miles off of the coast. And this is obviously done because a big slave ship can't make it close up to the land because it's like a beach, right? So because ships go deep. The bigger the ship, the deeper it has to go into the water. So they would take the slaves off to this small little island to await the slave ship, which will come every 2 weeks. And we talked about that. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ismail and Edward again, alhamdulillah. And so this time, we went to this Kinte Island. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, Michael. Alhamdulillah. We went to Kinte Island. And the island itself is smaller than it was during the slavery period because of erosion. It's very small. You can walk the perimeter of the island in probably like 10 minutes tops, 5 minutes. It's that small. And the fortress or the castle itself is, if you saw my pictures, there's no roof to it. Like there's just the first and some places the second floors of it. But again, if you go back to my pictures in my timeline, they created a scaled down model of what it used to look like. And alhamdulillah. So, we went there, and like I said, it's very, it's not well kept up. Like I mentioned on my timeline before, I don't think that I haven't been to Gorée Island on Senegal yet in Dakar. I plan on going there on my next trip, but I get the impression that Gorée Island is much more preserved than Kinte Island. But in any case, alhamdulillah. So we had that experience, and that's extremely important. This is extremely important because a lot of people claim, the Europeans, they made up the story about the slave trade. It is not true. You know, in fact, they try to deny that there was a slave trade. Even now, certain politicians are calling the slave trade indentured servitude, and they're making up all types of other things instead of calling it what it was, kidnapping and slavery, forced servitude. Right? SubhanAllah. I feel like I wanted to mention something else about Jufre and Albreda. One thing that I do want to mention about the whole slavery experience is that you can't assume that everybody in Africa know about the experience of the African American or the slave trade, right? A lot of them don't. And when you think about it, just think about it. How many black people in America know about their own history? A lot of people just don't know. People don't care about history, even their own history. That's the age in which we live, right? People don't care about their own history. So just think about it. If some of us don't even know about our own history, what makes you think that they know about our history? And so when you go to Africa, for those of you who care to go, I know a lot of y'all don't care to go. I figure the people that's watching probably do care to go. I'm preaching to the choir, but there's a lot of people like, so caring about no Africa, right? Going to Cancun on my next vacation, right? You're going to meet people that are very familiar with, you know, the European slave trade. You're going to meet people who know very little, and you're going to meet people who don't know nothing at all. And so when you're dealing with Africans that are over here, you're dealing with the same people. Some of them don't know, some of them know, some of them have rudimentary knowledge. So for the people that don't know, and they know about us, a lot of them look at us like, what's wrong with y'all? Y'all African? Y'all don't even know what tribe y'all come from? What kind of despicable type of people are you that you don't even know what tribe you come from, right? So that's what kind of like fuels their misunderstanding and for some of them, contempt for us. For some, not all. And you got to understand there's a very subtle vetting process that takes place for many of them that come over here. So you really can't even judge Africans that are still on the continent by the Africans that you meet here. I need to say that, you know, because a lot of people like, Africans don't care nothing about us, man. I live near a whole bunch of Africans, and man, you know, or like back in the day in New York City, man, them Africans won't even pull over, you know, the taxi cab. They be driving all them taxis. They won't even pull over if you black, right? A lot of them are explicitly told, listen, we let you into America. Don't be messing with them African Americans. Leave them alone. And many of them won't admit it, but a lot of them have been told that. But in any case, right? Something interesting happened. This last time I was in Gambia, 12 Years a Slave came on TV. Did you ever see that? And while we watching it, and I'm asking the people I with, did you see this before? Like, yeah, I saw this before. I'm like, you know that's real, right? I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's real. Like, yeah. I'm like, this is not just something somebody made up. 12 Years a Slave is the name of a book. They made it into a movie. This happened really to someone like this. This is a true life story. I was like, what? I'm like, yes. And that's only the story of one person who was free in America. What about the people who never tasted freedom, who were born into it, or who were kidnapped from Africa free and made to be a slave after that? And like when you tell them, because a lot of times they hear about slavery or whatever, but they don't know the depth of it. Like, yeah, all that stuff you see is real. And it didn't happen one time. It happened for hundreds of years. it's an African Holocaust. That's what happened. And once you explain it to them like that, they're like, oh, wait a minute. You know how we say, like the new thing, oh, you know, slavery, right? You're like, yeah, you know, like subhanallah. And so when you dealing with our brothers from the African continent, you can't assume that everybody's level of knowledge is the same. Has to be a lot of education that takes place. In fact, the first time I went there, the first Jumu'ah khutbah that I gave, I talked about that. My whole khutbah was about that. Informing them about that and the significance of us working together and coming together like that. Because we're actually undoing what was done to us. And it was expressed to me a lot of times. By the way, this is a conversation, y'all. I'm not really I didn't want to teach a class, so if anybody got any comments or questions, please ask while I'm talking so I can answer it, inshallah. It was expressed to me on many occasions. They're like, you know, like, subhanallah, like, you and brothers like you are super Muslims to us. And this is even told to me, like, even in back in the day when I went to Sudan. They was like, they're like, just think about it. You African, and you know, maybe you may have or may not have traveled outside of your area, but you know something about these people called African Americans, and you know something about, you know, that they're African, but somehow, some way, there's a disconnect there. They don't know their tribe or anything like this. And so they meet someone like me, for example. And they're like, subhanallah, you from America. You come from us. Like, and for example, they look at me, or especially my daughter out there, they look at me like, you Fulani. It's clear, you Fulani. No doubt about it. You Fulani, right? Anybody know anything about the Fulanis? That's a Muslim lineage, right? The origin of the Fulanis is in Islam, right? They're like, you clearly Fulla, as they say there. But you don't know that you're Fulla because, wa alaikum salam, Nora. You don't know that you're Fulla because I'll go anywhere in Africa, Edward, alhamdulillah. There's an invitation or something like that, you know, alhamdulillah. But and like I'm saying, they express this. Like, you don't know that you're Fulla. Your ancestors was kidnapped, forced to go to America, made into slaves. They were forced to give up their religion. They couldn't practice Islam. They became Christian or had Christianity forced upon them. And then all these generations go by, and then you become Muslim in America, in the land in which your ancestors were enslaved, and then you come back to Africa and you teach us Islam. Mm-hmm. This is what they're expressing to me. They're like, subhanallah, like this is amazing to us. Only Allah can do that. And so the people that know that type of history, or they know the background, they're very appreciative when we come back, when we come there. And a lot of times, it's those who are practicing their Islam. You know, just like every place, a lot of times when we go from one place to another, even within America, you hear that there's a lot of Muslims someplace. So you go there and you have rose-colored glasses on. You think that because everybody identifies as Muslim, that everyone is 100% super Muslim. That's not the case. Just like in America, right? Like a lot of people hear about Philadelphia. Oh, there's Muslims everywhere. Then you go to Philadelphia, you find the strongest of Muslims and the weakest of Muslims. What you thought all the Muslims there is going to be praying 5 times a day. All of the Muslims there are going to be eating halal meat. We lived in Philadelphia, you know, like, and as non-Philadelphians, for example, right, the hardest thing for us was to get the people from Philadelphia to recognize the blessings that they have. Like, we would be, for example, in Pathmark or in ShopRite. And I think it's even more now. But they sell halal meat in the regular supermarkets. Those of you who are not from the area, those are the two main supermarkets in Philadelphia, ShopRite, Pathmark. And you will, as a Muslim that eats halal zabiha, you would be in that halal, in that restaurant, in that supermarket, purchasing halal meat, and there'll be another Muslim half an aisle down getting some haram meat in the same supermarket. And you're like, how do you do that? That's in America, right? All Muslims ain't on the same level. So you go to Africa, right? And you say Gambia, the percentage of Muslims in Gambia is 95, 97, 99, upper 90% Muslim. Some people say even 99% Muslim. And a lot of times the non-Muslims, you can't tell they're non-Muslims. A lot of times you can't tell unless you see maybe, like for example, we got in the taxi cab one time, he had a cross hanging from the mirror. So you say, okay. But if you don't see something obvious like that, you can't tell.
Because they dress. And
they dress.
They give salams. And
they give dress.
And they participate
exactly.
in the ceremonies.
Exactly. Even if you Google, like these different tourist websites and try to learn different phrases and Mandinka so you can move around, the way they say hi and bye is assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Right? So someone giving you the salams is not indicative of their Islam. Mm-hmm. And so what was I about to say? Yeah, so you go to a place like Gambia, you expecting, all of the Muslims, for example. For me, the first thing I look for when I go to a place that's supposed to be Muslims there, I look for hijab. Because that's the first outward thing you're going to see, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you have a certain thing in your mind, you may go to a place like Gambia and you may feel disappointed. Because you're going to see everything. You're going to see Western clothes. You're going to see full abaya, niqab, or face cover, everything, and everything in between. But the thing about the Gambians is that their culture, for the most part, is intact. And in their culture, with most cultures that's still intact, there's a high respect for elders and the elders and leadership and things like this. So, like, you can't judge. For example, if a brother wants to marry a sister from Gambia, and you may see somebody may introduce you to a sister, and her quote unquote hijab may not be acceptable to you. It may be, I don't know how to describe it, but the little thing, and a lot of times their regular dress is real tight around the hips and stuff like that. You're like, oh man, that sister ain't practicing her deen. I ain't trying to marry her. You can't judge them like you judge American sister. That sister maybe make all her 5 prayers, stand up in the middle of the night to make salat, whatever. She just dressing like that because that's what she's used to. But if her father or her uncle or some elder in her family would be like, listen, you need to wear a khimar, you need to loosen up your outfit, she's going to do it. Most of the time. And don't say, nothing's 100%. You're going to find a rebel everywhere. But, she's going to dress properly. So you have to know that. Inshallah. One thing that needs to be done in all of these African countries, and anybody who watches what I'm saying, we need to focus on this. A lot of these African countries say yes, the Africans in the diaspora, meaning the African Americans, the Afro-Caribs, anybody, you can come home, like Ghana propagates that a whole lot. Come home, come back to Africa. But there's no clear-cut system. There's no clear-cut process to say, okay, if, for example, if you're African American or you're a descendant of a slave or whatever, you need to come back here, fill out this form, stay here for X amount of time. There's no clear-cut step 1, step 2, step 3, process for you to quote-unquote repatriate if that's what you want to do. And so those of us like myself who are going back and forth to various African or West African countries, we have to be the ones to set the precedence, and we have to make these things happen. And this is one of the things that I made it my business to take care of. Khalil said, "Do they disagree with marrying another from a different tribe?" Nah, not the people who I've seen. I'm sure there's somebody who does, but the way I look at a lot of Africans in general, with regards to the quote-unquote tribalism, all of us at some point or another were part of tribes, including white people. But historically, they have downplayed and created this fake tribe called white, right? And they arbitrarily decide who's white and who's not white. That's their tribe, white. But realistically, they got tribes, smaller tribes with different names from different areas, right? But they downplay that. In my opinion, the Africans are the other extreme. Like, we got to try, we holding on to that. And so, a lot, in their minds, certain tribes are known for certain things. So this tribe may historically have beef with that tribe. Because 500 years ago, your great-great-great-grandfather stole a goat and infringed upon, my great-great-grandfather's, watering ground. And so this beef has been going on so we really don't like you like that. And so we really don't mess with you. And it's really the people who really practice in Islam where where that's kind of like, downplayed. And so you find out there's a lot of people who's marry in between tribes, but it really depends on how much deen they have, for the most part. And because we Muslims, so I'm talking about the Muslims. Me, like, I don't know what tribe I come from. I married a Mandinka, right? They look at my phenotype and they say, "You fuller." They told me that before my daughter was born. Every time my daughter goes out in the street, it's like, her father's Fulani. She's not Fulani. The mother's not Fulani. So it all depends on, the deen, how much deen that they're practicing, in my opinion. So, I'm about to say something. Yeah, I was talking about for those of us who want to repatriate, go back to Africa and live there, or at least, we should. Cool. How I figure out my tribe, Sheikh? Just be honest with you. I don't really trust them DNA type things or whatever. If they may or may not be good, whatever. I'm not knocking it or I'm not against it, but I think the best thing to do is ask someone who's African. They'll be able to look at you and tell you in a second. Every time I step foot in the African continent, I have people tell me what I am. People will engage you, especially if you, for example, if you go to Gambia, right, and you dress like the average Gambian, right, people are going to talk to you the way, if you look Wolof, they're going to start speaking to you in Wolof. If you look Mandinka, they're going to speak to you in Mandinka. But it depends on where you at, because like I said, in Gambia, those are the two primary tribes, right? But you go to Africa, people are going to tell you what you look like. They're going to tell you, you look like such and such. And there's many times I didn't ask people, what do I look Hausa? Do I look Yoruba? Nah, you Fulani. You ain't no Hausa. You ain't no, they just know. Are you going over there multiple times? Are you familiar with the area now? Yeah, that area. Like I said, Gambia is really small. Like I give you an example. My wife sitting right here. She went there, and she had rented a house, right? And I didn't know where the house was because she rented it while she was there. So when I went back there, she was able to tell me where it was verbally, because I know this roughly the streets in the area, so I just went back there and went straight to the house, based on your instructions. So yes, I'm familiar with the area. So yeah, that's my advice. You go to Africa, and I'm saying Africa, the whole continent. Go to any country, and they tell you, you know, they're gonna tell you what you are if you ask. I'm not so sure about certain like certain places in Egypt or Libya or Mauritania or Morocco maybe, because they're a little bit different. Jerry, I can't speak for those, but I'm talking about Black Africa. And like I always say, and again, I haven't been everywhere in Africa. I haven't even been to a quarter of Africa. Africa is huge. For those of you who don't know, you can put 5 United States in Africa. The scale, the way they do the map in the globes, don't think you look at it, you figure like, oh, Africa and the United States are about the same size. No. They got different names, I forgot. But if you get the true a true depiction of the size of the continents, you could fit approximately 5 United States inside of Africa. Maybe more. Because I remember Sudan was big. Maybe my numbers may be off. Because I think you could fit 5 Sudan, no, 5, I think you could fit 5 Americas in Sudan or something like that. I forget the numbers. But in any case, Africa's big. Africa's huge. Don't think it's the same size as the United States. Every country is different. For Senegal, you just need a passport. For Gambia, you need a passport and a visa. Yeah, the point I was making was that we want to be able to go to whatever country, and we want to get passports from that country. We want to have dual citizenship. We want to be American citizens, or wherever you're from, if you're in the Caribbean or if you're in the UK, and we want to have citizenship in whatever African country that we get connected to. This is what we want. And when we go to these different countries in Africa, this is what we should be making moves towards. Ismail said, I've been to Morocco and met some black Moroccan, and he couldn't believe I'm from America. He was like, your mother and father American? I was like, yep. Yeah, a lot of them don't know. Why is tribe such an important in Africa? Because tribes are important in period. I mean, tribes are important in Islam. Some people are advocating that Africans do away with their tribes. I'm not advocating that. Because if you read Surah Hujurat, the verse that a lot of people quote against tribalism, or quote against Asabiya, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila li ta'arrafu, right? O mankind, we created you from a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes, smaller family groups and larger family groups, li ta'arrafu, so that you may know. And contrary to the way people use that verse, this is Surah 49, verse 13. If you actually read the tafsir commentary on that verse, Allah is upholding the tribe. He's not saying don't acknowledge your tribe. Allah is talking about li ta'arufu, so that you may know what? Your tribe, right? So that you may know such and such is the son of such and such and such and such. A tribe is nothing but a big family. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Verily the most honorable of you to Allah is the one who has the most taqwa. So it is sinful to say, I'm better than you, or I'm more righteous, or because my tribe is such and such. That's where you get sin. That's where you get involved with sin or whatever. But someone saying I'm Fulani, or I'm Yoruba, or I'm Igbo, or I'm whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. And that verse of the Quran upholds that. That's part of white supremacy, making America and Europe bigger than they really are. Try to make Greenland look way bigger than it is. Exactly. Why is tribe such? So I say, to answer your question, I think they're just living in their natural state, the ones who care about tribe. Because every tribe has their own traditions and their own cultures, you understand? And see, our culture here in America is more or less like a subculture. It's like a slave culture, and a lot of it is characterized by negative stuff. A lot of times, and stuff, and so a lot of times, sad to say, and so, like for example, when you see different marriage ceremonies in Africa, if you notice Islam, there's no quote unquote way to do a marriage, right? You got certain things that must be fulfilled legally, like the wali, the acceptance, the asking and the acceptance, and the dowry, and all of these things that make a marriage permissible or make a marriage legal. But you don't hear nothing in the fiqh books about the marriage ceremony. There's no ceremony, right? That's why a marriage in Sudan could look like completely different than a marriage in Gambia or any other place. So the marriage ceremony, for the most part, is whatever culture or however y'all want to do the marriage. And for every marriage ceremony that I've seen in Africa, a lot of times the women are off doing their own thing, and the men may be in the masjid where the legalities are dealt with, and the women are off someplace partying. But like I said, when my daughter, she got married, like she was like, no, I want to be there. So she was in the masjid taking pictures. Like, the women usually go someplace else. She's like, no, I want to be there. That's our daughter. Allahu Akbar. Right? Alhamdulillah. So, yeah, the culture is different. So, culture is not necessarily a bad thing. Islam is like a filter, because every culture has something in it that crept in it that's bad or maybe impermissible Islamically. Islam is like a filter. With everything that's good and permissible and wholesome goes through, and everything that's not gets caught up in the filter. Mustafa said, why don't we look African? I don't know what you talk about, because every time I go to Africa, like every black person I know, from the most lightest of light to the darkest of dark, I done seen their twin or their uncle or their cousin or somebody look real close to them. And I'm talking about, I've been to East Africa and Sudan, as well as West Africa and Gambia and Senegal. And everybody, I don't care if your hair is real tight and extra nappy or real loose and wavy and long, I done seen your twin in Africa, from Africa. So I don't know how we don't look African. And I say this, and everybody, all of my friends, I've said this before publicly, and I've said this, and some of my Facebook friends who are American, who are living in Africa, and even some of my African friends who are my friends on Facebook, I've said, listen, I can go to any African country, and I'm saying this confidently, knowing I haven't been to all of Africa. I haven't been nowhere near the southern portion of Africa or nothing, but I can still say this confidently. I can go to any country in Africa, go to any area where there's a whole lot of people walking around, and I can point out, ew, don't that look just like such and such? That's your twin. That look like my uncle. Regardless of what you look like, whether you dark, light, or skinny, big, whatever your phenotype is, I can find your twin in just about any country in Africa. Can you talk on the real estate there, Sheikh? Shukran for the reminder. You haven't seen my twin in Africa? Oh, yes, I have. Yes, I have. Alhamdulillah. Like I said, from the lightest of light to the darkest of dark, the hair from the kinkiest of kinky to the waviest of wavy. Seen it there. Contrary to what people like to believe, all black people don't look the same. We all not like the same complexion. Just like we come in all different complexions here in America and the West. In Africa, amongst people who ain't never been, to the West, you find all complexions there too. And all types of hair textures, even within the same tribe. Even within my own family, just look at all my children, right? Some of my children are dark, and some of my children are light, from the same mother, right? Because in all of us in our family line, like say if you black, especially if you in the West, there's some white person in your family tree. And every once in a while, that light complexion will pop out, even if all your children are dark. You know, they're just natural. Real estate. You can go there and purchase real estate. Real estate is very cheap. Obviously. I'm going to give you an example of the weight of American money. The haircut, a regular haircut in Gambia, is 35 of their so-called dollars. 35 of their so-called dollars is what?
$35 here?
Yeah. You know, I'm not good with math.
$35 is that's like it's about
Is that like 50 cents?
something like that. Let me look.
Figure it out.
You said $35
Yeah.
here.
My wife doing the calculation. I'm going to tell you what a haircut costs. Now I'm talking about not just, you know, haircut, hairline, shape up, razor cut, everything.
It's not even $1. It's 71 cents.
So you get a full haircut for 71 cents. Approximately. Most people take taxis everywhere. The taxis are real cheap. So what I've noticed, the services there are real cheap. Like haircuts and other things, taxi rides, those are services. The goods, they're still cheap compared to America, but the goods, the products are a little bit more expensive than the services, relatively speaking, if you can understand where I'm coming from. But you can build yourself a little mansion over there, literally, for like from the ground up, depending on where it is, from anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. I'm just giving you basically just a wide range of numbers. I'm talking about you buying a land and building it up from scratch. You can build yourself a little, what they call a compound. There's a wall around it. You walk in the big gates and you can have one part of your house over there, one part of your house over there, and 4 and 5 bathrooms and however you want it. And of course it could be more than that, depending on the swimming pool, all that kind of stuff. What a lot of people do is, and you find a lot of, Bob, you find a lot of white people, they're doing this, right? They'll buy or have a compound built, and they'll use that as their summer home, well, their vacation home. And while they're in Europe or whatever back home, they'll rent it out to people. And so their houses are being rented out. And other people that's African from there, they do the same thing. So building a house or buying a house there is not expensive there. And there's plenty of land to go around. Exactly. So you go to Gambia, especially when you closer to the beaches and the tourist areas, you be all in the cut, or like will be the equivalent of an American back street. Like just like you in the hood, in the back street, like ain't no white people around here. They scared to come in here. They there, right? In Gambia. Like, well, what you doing over here all in the back in the cut with no lights, all dark in here? What you doing here? So, alhamdulillah. So if you're looking for, like, a place, to build, retire, or just a place to go when you get there, that's the place to go, alhamdulillah. One of the places to go. I can only speak about where I've been. The brother asked, will I go to Sierra Leone? Yeah, I go. I will go. I go there anywhere. Anywhere I'm about, I go. But my second home right now is the Gambia. I have connection there. My children are there. Alhamdulillah. My second community is there. I seen Satima watching earlier. I don't know if he's still on, still there. If he's still on there now. Assalamu alaikum. There's a lot of sisters trying to get married out there. There's a lot of brothers trying to get married. A lot of people feel like, I can't find a good mate. I can't find a good spouse here in America. That might be one of your options. You see why I want to change that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That might be one of your options. One thing you have to watch out, though, if you're marrying someone from one of those countries, you got to make sure they're not marrying you for a green card or anything like that. We all know about the green card hustle. Don't think just because, well, I'm going to go to Africa and get one. No, you can still get hustled right out there. I tagged Imam Durrami, Sheikh Durrami. I remember we was out there, and there was a caravan of people partying. Like, boom, 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 you heard the drums, the cars going. It was like, I was like, Sheikh, what's going on? He was like, somebody married a two-bob. They happy. They're going to Europe. I was like, subhanallah. It was like a long car caravan. Music was thumping. Like back in the day, I mean, thumping. Like back in the day when people used to put systems in their cars out here, it was like, hanging out the windows, like party favors and, music. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? Sheikh told me, it's like, yeah, they celebrating because somebody married a white person. They happy because they about to make it to Europe. I'm like, subhanallah, wow. And so I'm saying that to say that when people are poor, they become desperate. And you may think you poor. You may think because I get food stamps or I get some type of government assistance. I'm poor. You don't understand poor. You may be poor here, but they're poor there. And their poor is different than our poor. For example, if you're poor here, you may be homeless. You may be sleeping outside. And it may be wintertime. So what? You're going to sleep outside in the wintertime, and you're just going to have to deal with it. If you survive, so well. Right? Over there, they may not be homeless. They may be, they may have a roof over their head. They may be able to stay in a compound with their family or whatever, but they're still poor. Right? Their poor is different from our poor. And they get TV. Like I said, I saw 12 Years a Slave while I was over there. And so a lot of them get channels, a lot of them from Saudi Arabia, and a lot of these Saudi Arabian channels have a lot of American programming on it. So they looking at, some of them are living in what we might consider huts, and they're watching all of this luxury in America and Saudi and wherever these movies are being showed. They showed all this luxury, so they're living dirt poor, and they're like, I need to get there. The same way a lot of us, because we don't psychoanalyze ourselves, we watch these movies and we in the hood, we watch Scarface, we want to be Scarface, right? And we want to be the Godfather. We want to be whatever we saw in the movie, right? And so they doing the same thing. And all their programming is coming from what we watching, and they want to get to where we have gotten. So, alhamdulillah. Anything y'all feel like I'm leaving out? I'm trying to give y'all as much information as possible, inshallah. Enjoy this much. I'll pick your brain some more. Shay, gotta go. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we're going back soon, inshallah. We're going to try to arrange a tour of that area. You know how you got these Back to Africa tours where you go there and they give you a tribal name and all that? We want to do an Islamic version of it, but we want to keep the cost down. And the most expensive thing anytime you're talking about going to Africa is the airfare. Even if you find a discount, the discount is nothing comparative to, for example, how long is it the flight from here to Dakar, Senegal? Because you can get a direct flight. 8 hours, right? It's basically 8 hours to fly from the east coast of the United States to Senegal. It's about the same amount of time to fly from America to the UK. You can get a flight from America to the UK for about a third of the price any time of the year. And I've been to the UK a few times. But the same flight time and all that, even the same airline even, will cost you 2-3 times more to fly to Africa. And I believe it's done by design. They got all kinds of excuses and all that kind of stuff, but you got direct flights from here. And they say, they have many reasons for this. Allah knows best. But the bottom line is the point, the price to fly from here to Africa is always more, and that's what makes it, will make or break a lot of us. Usually, anywhere in Africa, usually you're talking about $1,000 just off top, just airfare. Just don't even think about spending money. You think about $1,000 round trip, if not more. If we do a tour, obviously if we get enough people, we can get discounted flights and stuff like that. But even with that, the most costly thing is going to be the flight. And so I have a tour in mind. I jotted this down a few years ago, certain places, because what I want to do is do a tour which highlights how we became Muslim here. Without being too specific, I won't give away all my ideas. Right? We visit certain historical masjids here in the United States. And then we visit certain historical places of certain notable Muslim figures from the 60s or the 70s. Then we go to certain historical places that had certain Muslim slaves, people who were enslaved Muslims here in the United States. And then we go to Africa. Then we go to Gambia and Senegal. Then we go to Jufure, where Kunta Kinte came from. We go to Alberta. We go to Goree Island. And we so basically how Islam got to us in America, we just do the tour in reverse. Where we're at now and how we got there in reverse. That's my idea for a tour. And so this is what we want to do, inshallah. And so we just need to make that move, inshallah. Anybody have any insight or any connections with any airlines that go to Gambia or Senegal, let a brother know, and we can make this happen. The less expensive, the easier it will be, inshallah. Somebody said something. Hassan Ali said when. Well, I'm going back a few times this year, but if you're talking about the tour, we just need to organize it. Maybe me and you could put our heads together to organize it, inshallah. Because I've been had this in my mind for about 2 years. And I think if we can keep it cheap as possible, and do that, I think, subhanAllah, it'll open up a whole new chapter with regards to our Islam here. Because this is a story that not only needs to be told. I'm just one person. Or in general. Inshallah, I'm trying to go back before Ramadan, inshallah. So that's very soon, inshallah. Allah knows best. So yeah, alhamdulillah, there's a lot of potential out there. By the way, I'm saying this openly because we got a lot of people that we got some experiences. If you try to go around me and try to get the plug to Gambia and don't say nothing to me, and someone come asking me, do you know such and such? They trying to get that out. I'm going to put you on blast. I'm like, don't mess with her. I'm letting you know that right now. My real estate company is doing a trip to South Africa. They are Christian mostly. I couldn't afford that though. Now you got a lot of missionaries that come to all these African countries, trying to propagate Christianity and stuff like that. They're heavy out there. A lot of these countries, the Ahmadiyas be out there heavy too, doing missionary work. The Qadianis. Because this is what we do. Like a lot of us, we have the Scarface petty drug dealer mentality, right? What's the petty drug dealer mentality? You know, this person, I'm selling drugs with him or through him or whatever like this. I'm gonna try to go around him and try to get to connect. And after that, then I'm gonna go to war against him and try to move him out the way and take over his territory. We gotta stop acting like that. Especially if you try to use my name and try to go over there, I'm putting you on blast. You don't communicate with me, I'm like, don't mess with him. Why would you use my name and then try to go behind my back? No. Because you go over there, yeah, I know Imam Naeem, and then you get over there doing all types of wild, crazy stuff, and then what you did is connected with me. No. Just to put it out there. I had one sister, I didn't know her from nowhere. She reached out to me about marrying someone from out there. And then, miraculously, right when she contacted me, a brother from out there said, hey, I'm trying to get married. And they was already communicating. And so we trying to like put the brakes on, make sure everything, because I don't know her and I don't really know the brother like that. And so we trying to like put the brakes on it. They trying to go full steam ahead. So alhamdulillah, they went around us and found a way to get married anyway. And then right after they got married, the sister blocked me, right? She blocked me, and they got married, and the brother, he be reaching out to me every now and then crying, what's wrong with this sister? She treat me bad. Like, hey, you got married on your own. I ain't my business. I ain't know her like that. And so, like, you want the connection or the plug or whatever, I gotta know you, or at least get to know you. This deen is based upon character. When you cut people who normally don't work out, well, when they will probably need your help in the end. Exactly. You use my name and get the plug, whatever like that, and then you cut me off and I ain't did nothing to you. All right. It'll come back to you. Like, my plate is full. My life is busy. I'm not losing sleep over you blocking me on Facebook because you got the plug. So everybody that's interested in anything that we've spoken about, let's do business like men. Let's make things happen in a responsible Islamic manner. There's no need to be sneaky and trying to work out side deals. We're not drug dealers. We Muslims trying to establish and practice our deen and facilitate our life. There's no reason to try to cut each other off and try to go behind someone back. There's no need to operate like that. Some people are like that. They operate grimy like that. Like like in the hood, right? Maybe your car won't pass inspection. So in the hood, the spot where they got they do the Jimmy rig your thing, right? There's some people, the way they think, their car be brand new, right? Everything legal, and they'll still go to the Jimmy rig spot. Yo, go get why are you paying the extra money to do it? Go get your car inspector right. Now I don't know how to deal with them. Why are you acting like you're a criminal, man? Go to the regular spot, right? A lot of us think like that. Like, we like, I gotta act grimy. This is the way I normally act. I'm gonna use his name, but I'm gonna cut him out, and I ain't gonna let him know. This is the way we act. If you act like that, I ain't mess with you no more, right? This is the way we act. So, alhamdulillah, if anybody's serious, get at me. If I already know you, alhamdulillah. But if not, we just friends on Facebook. But you trying to make something happen. Get at me. Let's get to know each other, and let's make this thing happen. And again, everybody's situation is different. Sometimes you work 9 to 5, you just can't up and go, but maybe you're interested. Because some people get offended. Some people are offended by this conversation. Why we got to go back to Africa? Well, I'm not talking to you. You stay right here. Well, why everybody got to go to Africa? I ain't trying to go to Africa. Well, alhamdulillah, I stay right there. It wasn't for you. I'm not trying to convince nobody to do nothing. That's right, Hassan Ali. Right? I'm like, if you don't want to go, I don't want you with me. That's my prerogative. I'm not sure if I should go. I'm not sure if you should go either. I don't know if I want to go. I don't know if I want you to go. Right? That's my position. I'm not sure I like Africa. I'm not sure Africa like you. Oh, funny. That's German to always trying to get over. They can't just do things right. They're thinking it's off. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think like that, and they don't know that they're thinking like that. It's just habit, you know. Alhamdulillah. And be careful of that. A lot of people will play off. They will use you as a reference, a character reference, without letting you know. And I'm also saying this publicly, because I know Sheikh Drama, he's gonna listen to this. Like sometimes, like the way Africans think and the way African Americans think, totally different, right? Because be honest, a lot of us have enemies on our page, right? Be honest, a lot of us have enemies on our page, hidden enemies and open enemies on our page, right? And so a lot of them will assume that, okay, you two are friends on Facebook, so I'm going to assume by that you are cool. No, that just because you're my friend on Facebook, that don't mean we cool. Maybe I forgot what you was there and I didn't delete you yet. Or maybe you done stabbed me in the back and, you think you did something, so I leave you on Facebook as my friend so you can keep seeing me shine so you get pissed off, right? Maybe, it could be a whole lot of reasons why you still my friend on Facebook, right? And so, I'm saying all of that to say that, just keep everything above board, because we're trying to make some big important things happen. And I gotta say this for all my brothers and sisters in Gambia that's gonna be watching. In order for us to make things happen, we need permission from the government. Obviously our government, passport, visa. But if you're dealing with the Gambia, and other countries like it, the way to make stuff happen there is not going to be like, like a governmental process. It's going to have to be institutional. Like, we connect with people over there, and our group or our community, our Jamaa'ah, connect with that Jamaa'ah over there, and we work together to make something happen. That's the way it's going to happen. It's not going to happen like the way you normally used to things happen. Hassan Ali said, can you speak on building bridges? Yeah, building bridges. Building bridges is a term that we borrowed from Malcolm X. Because Malcolm X talking about this same thing. He said, we have to build new bridges. Because in the mind of some of our people, Africa is too far away. So we have to make a bridge to connect the two, right? So what we're doing actually now is building these bridges. Alhamdulillah, we have a Jamaa'ah over there that we're connected with. We're over here. And so we building these connections. Alhamdulillah, we have the educational connection, right? Where, our children are over there learning the Quran. And inshallah, it's our intention to bring one of their teachers over here. Because not everybody can send their children over there. So maybe we have one of their teachers over here, right? So there's an educational component. There's an economic component that we need to work on. And so this is part of what we're working on. So this is why, when I go over there, it's like I'm just going back home, right? And so what we need more of us to be going over with this type of thinking, like Hassan Ali said, to be building these bridges. Because, I'm not like really a business person. I need somebody who really thinks like that, who's not cutthroat, backstabber type person to be going over there and helping making these things happen. Inshallah. We need people who can facilitate for us. Maybe, for example, I complained about the airfare and stuff like that. Maybe there's somebody who can maybe hook it up where anybody connected with us can put a discount code in when it's time to book your airfare or something like that. I'm just throwing different things out there. Anything is possible if you negotiate and connect with the right people. Nothing's impossible. Everything is possible, inshallah. I don't know if I spoke to what you wanted me to, Hassan Ali. Like I said, a lot of times, a lot of us had we had bad experiences with regards to marriage. Maybe your answer as a person, I'm not saying the answer, maybe your answer, maybe not, maybe is to marry an African brother or to marry an African sister. That may be your particular situation. Like I said, I'm speaking about Gambia. Maybe you have a plug someplace else. You might never met the person or really know them on Facebook. Exactly. On Facebook, I got thousands of friends on Facebook, and how many of them I know in real life, I never counted, but maybe 50, and that's a high number. Maybe. But a lot of people assume, like, yeah, you're friends on Facebook. I thought you knew each other. I don't know him. We comment on each other's stat, but I don't know him in person. Some people I do know in person. Some people I'm cordial with. I know him in person and I'm cordial with. I'm respectful to him. But that don't assume that I do business with them. The best thing is to always ask. I see your friends on Facebook. Do you know him? No, not really. We just friends on Facebook. Oh, yeah, I know him. Or such and such is thinking about doing business. Don't do business with him. Yeah. Or such and such trying to get married. Who? That person? Married? Oh, no. I'll be honest with you. I just gave you two examples where it's a permissible ghiba. It's a permissible backbiting. Like the Prophet ﷺ did it himself. Yeah, that's good. I just wanted the people to know that it can be more than just a vacation, business, spiritual relationships, whatever. It's about options to make moves across some bridges. Exactly. Alhamdulillah. I guess something my lips getting dry. You see me here struggling. You ain't going to say that. Wife said, "Why you want to juice your lips up? My lips getting dry. They chapping and stuff." She going to sit there and let me do it too. She's like, "That's right. I don't want nobody else liking you looking at your lips, right?" I
ain't say all that.
I'm trying not to be close up on the camera. It's real awkward when I see other men all up in the camera. I don't even use this one no more. What's wrong with these women, brothers?
Is there something coming up?
Something. You can throw that away. I was about to say something. Yeah, one thing that I figure out in my experience in life, sometimes even when you with a group or a Jamaa'ah or a community, and you're all claim to want to do the same thing, a lot of times people just talk about wanting to do the same thing, but ain't there. They just talking. Alhamdulillah, shukran. That was like I needed that. And so, like with regards to Gambia, right? I brought my children there, and I brought a round trip ticket because just in case I got there and I didn't feel comfortable leaving my children there, I could have always taken them back with me. But alhamdulillah, I didn't. I left them there, alhamdulillah. So, the way I kind of like operate is I do it myself and my family. And then I try to make it open for anyone else who wants to be a part of it. Because waiting for a group of people, even a handful, to be ready, you'll never do it. You'll never get there. You'll be waiting forever. And meanwhile, we got families and children are getting old and old and older and older. And alhamdulillah, anybody that has children in this society, it's a struggle. And alhamdulillah, I'm glad I got at least two of my sons out of here at a good time, because I can even see the improvement, in their character. On top of the knowledge benefits that they're getting. Like, alhamdulillah, they speak 3 languages fluently now in this little bit of time. English, Mandinka, and Wolof fluently. On top of what they learn, what they know of the Quran. So that's a clear benefit by itself, right? They're multilingual. I forgot how many languages you need to know to be a polyglot. I don't know if it's 5, 3, I forgot what it was. But in any case, so you have your children growing up, in an environment, where having good adab is part of the culture, and respect of elders is still there, and here, in places like this, you gotta second think of how and when you discipline your children. A lot of us talk trash, but a lot of parents are scared of their children, because the children could pick up the phone, call 911, and have you locked up. They sitting in the house and you sitting in the jail, right? This type of society we live in. Alhamdulillah, those societies not like that. And so they're learning, good character and everything like that. Alhamdulillah. And another thing, and I mentioned this before, but like, I don't know about everybody, they raise their children different, but like my children can't just walk out the house here in America, just walk out and just leave. Nah, this ain't the 1970s and 80s. No, you stay right here, right? But those same children, for example, my 2 sons that are Uthman and Ali that are in Gambia, they go to the store, they go off, they go to whole different cities, and I'm not worried about them. Because it's that type of place. Alhamdulillah. So, I don't know how long I've been on, but I'm going to close out, inshallah. I didn't have anything organized to speak about. I just wanted to get some of my experiences off, and I wanted to share it with you all, because like I said, I know some that may be the piece that a lot of us are missing. And so if we can help each other, then let's make it happen. If this was just some information for you, alhamdulillah, just because you listen to this not, I'm not saying that every black person got to go back to Africa. No, I think some of y'all need to stay right here. Just like Marcus Garvey said, we don't ever want everybody back in Africa. Some African Americans need to stay right here in America. Some of us get to Africa, there would be trap houses and everything in Africa. Alhamdulillah. And some people, they may be tired. I want to go. If that's you, that option is there for you too. You can go, and you can relocate back to Africa, back to Gambia, and build you a house or rent you a house and live there happily ever after, if that's what you want. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Oh, there's more people commenting? Okay. Alhamdulillah. So, alhamdulillah, I'm done. May Allah bless all of you. Inshallah, I pray this was beneficial. This wasn't meant to be a class. It was meant to be more or less like a conversation. I just wanted to debrief and share with all of y'all. Obviously, I can't share everything, Some things are personal, some things, Alhamdulillah. I just wanted to let you know that the world is bigger than where you at. And a lot of times you get caught up in a rat race, and a lot of times you have problems or situations or, frustrations, or you don't know the way out. Sometimes the way out for your situation could be, across the water. And it's not as hard, and it's not as far as you think it is. Alhamdulillah.